The alarm woke Hyun-soo at 3 in the morning. He sat up quickly in his small apartment near the Seoul Space Command Center. His computer screen flashed red with an urgent message. Unknown vessel detected near Jupiter. All personnel report immediately. Hyun-soo dressed fast and ran to his car. The streets were empty and dark. He worked as a communications officer, listening to signals from space. In his 5 years at the job, he had never seen a real emergency. Space was usually quiet and boring. When he arrived at the command center, everyone was already there. The main screen showed a large ship moving slowly toward Earth. It looked damaged. Parts of it were broken and it left a trail of debris behind it. Captain Dae-hyun stood at the front of the room. He was a tall man with gray hair and a serious face. He had commanded Earth's defense ships for 20 years. "What do we know?" he asked. "The ship is big," said one officer. "Maybe 3 kilometers long. It's sending out a signal, but we can't understand it yet." Hyun-soo sat at his station and put on his headphones. He heard strange sounds like whale songs mixed with electronic beeps. His heart beat faster. This was alien. Real aliens were trying to talk to them. "I'm working on the translation," Hyun-soo said. His hands shook as he typed. The computer had programs for analyzing unknown languages. It would take time, but he could do this. Captain Dae-hyun ordered his ship, the EDS Indomitable, to launch. "We go to meet them. Weapons ready, but do not fire unless I say so." Hours passed. Hyun-soo worked without stopping. The alien language was complex, but patterns began to appear. Finally, words formed on his screen. "Help. Refugees. Dying. Please. Captain," Hyun-soo called out. "They're asking for help. They say they're refugees." The room became silent. Everyone stared at the screen. The alien ship was now close enough to see clearly. It had beautiful curved designs, but many parts were scorched black. Windows were broken. It looked like it had been through a war. A new signal came through. This time there was a video. Hyun-soo put it on the main screen. An alien face appeared. She looked like a mix between a dolphin and a seal, with large black eyes and smooth blue skin. She wore some kind of uniform. When she spoke, Hyun-soo's computer translated her words into Korean. "My name is Terralix. I am the ambassador of the Velnar people. Our world was destroyed. We have been running for months. We have 50,000 survivors on this ship. Many are sick. Children are dying. Please, we need help. We mean no harm." Her voice broke. She was crying. Tears ran down her face and she covered her eyes with her hands. Behind her, Hyun-soo could see other aliens moving around. Some were lying on the floor. It looked like a hospital, but everything was broken. Captain Dae-hyun's face softened. "Tell her we hear her message. Tell her to wait while we speak with our leaders." Hyun-soo sent the message. Then the captain called Earth. Within an hour, the United Nations Emergency Council was meeting. Presidents and prime ministers from around the world appeared on screens. They argued loudly. "We can't take them," said one leader. "We don't know anything about them." "What if it's a trick?" "Did you see their ship?" said another. "They're barely alive." "What kind of trick is that?" President Ji-won of Korea spoke calmly. She was a small woman with white hair, but everyone listened when she talked. "They came to us for help. Every person in this meeting knows what it means to run from danger. Our own history is full of refugees. What are we if we turn away people who need us?" The debate went on for hours. Finally, they voted. Earth would accept the Velnar refugees. Captain Dae-hyun smiled when he heard the news. He ordered his ship to move closer to the alien vessel. "Hyun-soo, translate this carefully. Tell them they are welcome. Tell them they are safe now." Hyun-soo sent the message. On the screen, Terralix's face appeared again. When she heard the translation, she collapsed to her knees and sobbed. Other Velnar gathered around her, holding each other. The whole ship seemed to cry with relief. The Velnar ship was guided to Earth orbit. Medical teams were sent up immediately. Human doctors worked alongside Velnar healers to save the sick. It was hard at first because Velnar biology was different, but they learned fast. 3 days later, the first Velnar families came down to Earth. They had chosen settlement areas in the Pacific Ocean and near New Zealand. The Velnar came from a water world, so they needed to be near the sea. Hyun-soo volunteered to be their main translator. He met Terralix in person at the landing site. She was taller than he expected, maybe 7 feet. Her skin was smooth and reflected light in beautiful patterns. "Thank you," she said through the translator device. "Thank you for giving us a home." You're welcome, Hyunsu said. He felt strange. A week ago he thought aliens might not exist. Now he was shaking hands with one. Can you tell me what happened to your world? Terlik's eyes became sad. The Krethic Dominion came. They wanted our planet for its resources. We refused to leave. They said we were rebels. They attacked our cities with weapons that burned everything. Millions died in the first day. We could only save 50,000 people on the last ship. The Krethic Dominion, Hyunsu asked. Who are they? An empire, Teralik said quietly. They control 100 worlds. They are strong. Their technology is far beyond yours. We thought we were safe because we were peaceful. We were wrong. They don't care about peace. That night, Hyunsu couldn't sleep. He thought about what Teralik had said. An empire that destroyed worlds. He wondered if Earth had made a mistake by getting involved. The next morning, he went to work as usual. The Velnar were settling in. Human children went to the beaches to see the aliens swimming. The Velnar shared their art, creating beautiful light shows in the water using their natural bioluminescence. It was like nothing humans had ever seen. President Jiwon gave a speech that was broadcast everywhere. Today we are not just humans. We are part of something bigger. We have shown the universe that Earth stands for something. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. People around the world celebrated. The news showed humans and Velnar working together, building homes, sharing food. It felt like a new beginning. But then on the 7th day, everything changed. Hyunsu was at his station when the sensors picked up something new. Multiple signals coming from the edge of the solar system. Big signals. Warships Captain Daehyun ran to the screen. His face went pale. How many? 12, said the sensor officer. All military class. They're heading straight for Earth. Hyunsu knew what this meant. The Krethic Dominion had found the Velnar, and now they were coming to Earth. The 12 Krethic warships stopped at the edge of the solar system. They were massive, each one bigger than any ship humans had ever built. Their hulls were dark gray metal with red markings that looked like scars. They formed a line and waited. Captain Daehyun stood on the bridge of his ship. His crew was silent. Everyone knew this was bad. Earth's entire defense fleet had only 40 ships, and most were small compared to what they were looking at. Are they sending any signals? Daehyun asked. Hyunsu listened carefully to his equipment. Yes, Captain. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. It's directed at Earth. I'm translating now. The message came through. A face appeared on the screen. It was reptilian, with green scales and yellow eyes. Sharp teeth showed when it spoke. The alien wore armor with strange symbols on the chest. I am Commander Vexthor of the Krethic Dominion. You are harboring criminals. The Velnar rebels must be surrendered to us within 24 hours. If you comply, we will leave peacefully. If you refuse, we will take them by force. This is your only warning. The transmission ended. The screen went black. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then Daehyun spoke. Get me a line to Admiral Minho, and get the president. Within an hour, every world leader was in an emergency meeting again. This time the mood was very different. People were scared. Admiral Minho was an old man who had served in Earth's space forces since the beginning. He had white hair and a face full of wrinkles. He looked at the data about the Krethic ships and shook his head. Their technology is better than ours, he said. Each of their ships could probably destroy 3 of ours. If we fight, we will lose. Then we don't fight, said one president. We give them what they want. The Velnar? President Jiwon asked. You want to hand over 50,000 refugees? I want to save 8 billion humans, the other president replied. This isn't our fight. The argument grew loud. Half the leaders wanted to surrender the Velnar. Half wanted to refuse. Hyunsu watched from his station. He thought about Teralik and her people. They had been on Earth for only a week. Human children were already playing with Velnar children. Teachers were learning how to educate both species together. Then something unexpected happened. The broadcast went public. Someone leaked Vexthor's message to the news. Within minutes, the whole world saw it. And the whole world had an opinion. Videos started appearing online. A human father stood with his Velnar neighbor and said, They're part of our community now. We don't give up our neighbors. A school teacher showed her classroom with human and Velnar children sitting together. How do I explain to these kids that we're sending their friends away to die? In Seoul, thousands of people marched in the streets. In New York, crowds gathered outside the UN building. In Tokyo, Sydney, Cairo, and Mexico City, the same thing happened. People held signs that said, "Earth protects and no surrender." Lieutenant Bora was a fighter pilot stationed on the moon base. She was young, only 25, but she was one of the best pilots in the fleet. She watched the news and felt her blood boil. She recorded a message and sent it to the UN. "My name is Lieutenant Bora. I volunteered to defend Earth. I didn't volunteer to watch us become cowards. The Velnar came to us for help. We said yes. Now some people want to break that promise because it's hard. That's not who we are. That's not who we should be. I'll fight if I have to. I think most soldiers will." Her message went viral. Thousands of military personnel posted similar videos. "We stand with the Velnar." The pressure on the world leaders became massive. President Jiwan called for a final vote. This time it was clear. Earth would refuse the Krethic demand. She appeared on television to announce the decision. "Today we face a choice between safety and honor. Between fear and compassion. Humanity has fled persecution throughout our history. We know what it means to need sanctuary. We know what it means when no one helps. The Velnar asked for our protection and we gave our word. We will not break that word. To the Krethic Dominion, our answer is no." The world held its breath. Terralix heard the announcement in her new home by the ocean. She was with a group of Velnar elders. When the translation finished, she began to cry. An elder named Mor Allen put his hand on her shoulder. "They're going to fight for us," Terralix said. "They're going to die because of us." "Then we must help them," Mor Allen said. "We have knowledge. We know the Krethic. We can give them a chance." Mor Allen called for a meeting with Earth's military leaders. When they gathered, he brought data files that the Velnar had collected during their months of running from the Krethic. "Their ships are powerful," Mor Allen explained through Hyunsu's translation. "But they have weaknesses. Their shields operate on specific frequencies. If you can generate electromagnetic pulses at these exact wavelengths, their shields will fail for a few seconds. It's not much, but it's something." Admiral Minho studied the data carefully. "This could work. We have EMP weapons. We just need to modify them." He looked at Mor Allen. "Thank you. You may have saved many lives." "You're risking everything for us," Mor Allen said quietly. "It is the least we can do." The Earth Defense Fleet mobilized. Every ship was prepared for battle. Engineers worked day and night to install the new EMP weapons. Captain Dae Hyun was promoted to Commodore and given command of the Defensive Task Force. A young engineer named Tai Yang led the modification project. He was a genius with technology. He barely slept for 3 days as he worked to integrate Velnar knowledge with human weapons systems. "Will it work?" Dae Hyun asked him. Taeyang looked exhausted but determined. "I think so. The Velnar data is good, but sir, even with this advantage, we're still outnumbered and outgunned. We need strategy, not just technology." Dae Hyun nodded. He gathered his captains for a planning session. Captain Subin was there, a tactical expert. She had studied military history and loved reading about ancient battles. "We can't fight them straight on," Subin said. "We need to make them fight on our terms. Use the terrain." "Terrain?" another captain asked. "It's space. There is no terrain." "There's Mars," Subin replied. "There's asteroids. There's the moon. We make them come to us. We use the planets, the magnetic fields, everything we can." They worked on the plan together. It was risky. It would cost lives. But it was the only chance they had. Meanwhile, Hyun-Soo was assigned to monitor Krethic communications. He listened to their signals, trying to learn their language better. He picked up chatter between their ships. They were confident. They talked about Earth like it was an easy target. "Primitives," they called humans. "They'll surrender after we destroy a few cities." That made Hyun-Soo angry. But it also gave him an idea. If the Krethic thought humans were primitive and stupid, maybe that could be used against them. The 24 hours passed. Dae-Hyun moved his fleet to Mars orbit. 40 human ships against 12 Krethic warships. The odds were terrible. Vexthor sent one final message. "This is your last chance. Surrender the Velnar now." Dae-Hyun looked at his crew. Then he opened a channel. "This is Commodore Dae-Hyun of the Earth Defense Forces. Our answer is the same. No. Leave our solar system or we will make you leave." There was a pause. Then Vexthor laughed. It was a cruel sound. "You suicidal primitives, very well. We will take them from your corpses." The Krethic fleet began to move forward. The Battle of Mars was about to begin. The Krethic warships moved forward in a perfect formation. They looked like predators closing in on prey. their weapons charged with energy that made the sensors scream warnings. On the human ships, crews prepared for what might be their last moments. Commodore Daehyun stood calmly on his bridge. His officers watched him, taking strength from his steady presence. All ships begin retreat pattern Delta. Draw them in. The human fleet started to pull back toward Mars. To the Krethic it looked like fear. Vexthor smiled on his command ship. They run already. This will be easier than I thought. But Captain Subin, commanding a group of smaller ships, knew better. This was the plan. Let the enemy think they were winning. The first shots came from the Krethic fleet, massive energy beams that lit up space like lightning. They hit 3 human ships. The shields held for a moment, then collapsed. The ships broke apart in silent explosions. EDS Dauntless is gone, reported an officer. Eddie's Courage and Edie's Defiant destroyed. 300 crew lost. Daehyun felt each death like a knife, but he kept his voice steady. Continue retreat. Lead them to Point Gamma. More shots came. Human ships dodged and weaved, firing back when they could. But the Krethic shields absorbed everything. Their technology was just too advanced. 2 more human ships exploded. The crew of the EDS Pioneer managed to escape in pods before their ship died. Vexthor was enjoying himself. Look at them scatter like fish. Humans are weak. This sector will learn not to defy the Dominion. Then Daehyun's fleet reached Mars orbit. They split into 3 groups, each heading in different directions. The Krethic followed, confident in their victory. Now, Daehyun said quietly, hidden on the Mars moon called Deimos were special generators that Taeyang had built. They activated all at once, creating a massive electromagnetic pulse exactly calibrated to the frequency Moralen had provided. The pulse washed over the Krethic ships. For 5 seconds, their shields flickered and vanished. All weapons fire, Daehyun shouted. Every human ship unleashed everything they had. Railguns fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. Missiles streaked through space. Energy weapons blazed. Without shields, the Krethic ships were vulnerable. 4 Krethic warships took heavy damage in those 5 seconds. Hull breaches opened. Explosions rippled across their surfaces. One ship lost power completely and began to drift. Then the shields came back online. But the damage was done. For the first time, Vexthor looked worried. Impossible. How did they know our shield frequency? The human ships didn't stay to fight directly. They scattered into the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The Krethic followed, angry now instead of amused. Lieutenant Bora led a squadron of 15 small fighters. They were fast and hard to hit. She dove between asteroids, her hands steady on the controls despite her racing heart. Blue Squadron, follow my lead. We hit and run. Don't give them time to target you. Her fighters swooped in on a damaged Krethic cruiser. They fired missiles at the spots where the hull was already broken. The missiles went deep inside before exploding. The Krethic ship shuddered and went dark. That's one, Bora said. Let's get another. But the Krethic weren't stupid. They adapted quickly. Their ship spread out, using their superior sensors to track the human fighters. Lieutenant Junho and his squadron of 6 fighters got caught in a crossfire. Energy beams cut through their small ships like paper. Junho is gone, reported Captain Subin. Her voice was tight with grief. Yunyo had been her student. All across the battle zone, humans fought with everything they had. They used tactics the Krethic had never seen before. Captain Nari hid her ship behind an asteroid, then used the asteroid's rotation to swing around and fire at a Krethic ship from behind. Engineer Taeyang had modified some of the weapons with Velnar biological compounds, special fungi that could eat through metal. When these biotorpedoes hit, they spread across the Krethic hulls like disease. The Krethic were taking losses, but so were the humans. Ship after ship died. Escape pods launched into space, hoping someone would rescue them later. By the 4th hour of battle, the human fleet was down to 25 ships. They had managed to destroy 3 Krethic warships and badly damage 4 more. But 5 Krethic ships were still fully operational. Vexthor was furious. These primitives had hurt his fleet. It was embarrassing. Unacceptable, he decided to teach them a lesson. Target the Mars colonies, he ordered. Kill everyone there. Commander, those are civilian targets, one of his officers said nervously. I don't care. Do it. The Krethic ships turned their weapons on the small human settlements on Mars, 3 colonies, home to mining operations and research stations. The energy beams hit before anyone could evacuate. Buildings vaporized. 3,000 people died in seconds. On Earth, people watched in horror as the news came through. President Ji-won sat in her office with tears running down her face. But she didn't regret her decision. She knew that surrendering the Velnar would have been worse. Dae-hyun heard about the colonies. His face became hard as stone. Hyun-soo, have you found their command ship yet? Hyun-soo had been monitoring every signal, listening to every transmission. Yes, sir. I've got his location. The flagship is near the south pole of Mars, behind the planet from our position. Good. Dae-hyun opened a channel to his remaining heavy cruisers. All capital ships form up on me. We're going after Vexthor directly. Captain Subin protested. Sir, that's suicide. Their flagship is the most heavily armed ship they have. I know, Dae-hyun said. But while we attack it, you take the rest of the fleet and hit the other Krethik ships. We split their attention. It's our only chance, Subin understood. She didn't like it, but she understood. Yes, sir. Good luck. Dae-hyun took 8 heavy cruisers on a direct course to the Krethik flagship. The other ships saw them coming and tried to intercept, but Subin's forces kept them busy. It became a race. The flagship was huge, maybe 5 times the size of any human ship. Its weapons could have torn through Dae-hyun's small force easily. But Taeyang had one more trick prepared. Launch the special torpedo, Dae-hyun ordered. A single missile flew from the lead cruiser. It was packed with Velnar bioweapon, the fungal compound that ate metal. The Krethik point defense systems shot at it, destroying it before it could hit the hull. But that was the plan. The torpedo exploded in space, releasing billions of spores. They drifted toward the flagship like a cloud. Some of them touched the hull and immediately began to grow and spread. At first, the Krethik didn't notice. Then alarms started going off. Hull breach in sections 7 through 12. The metal is dissolving. The fungus spread fast. It ate through the outer hull, then the inner walls. Life support systems failed. Air began venting into space. Vexthor ran to the bridge, his face twisted with rage and fear. Seal the affected sections. Kill it with fire! But it was too late. The fungus had spread too far. The flagship was dying. All personnel abandon ship, Vexthor finally ordered. He escaped in a small pod, watching his mighty warship fall apart piece by piece. Dae-hyun's forces didn't have time to celebrate. They were heavily damaged themselves. 2 of his 8 cruisers were destroyed in the attack. The others were barely functional. Both fleets were exhausted. The Krethik had 5 ships left, but they were damaged and low on supplies. The humans had 12 operational ships, but most could barely fly. A strange silence fell over the battlefield. Neither side attacked. They were both too hurt, too tired. Finally, a message came from the Krethik fleet. It wasn't Vexthor. A new commander spoke. We withdraw for now, but this isn't over. Reinforcements are coming. The Krethik ships turned and limped away toward the edge of the solar system. They would leave, but they would come back, and next time they would bring an even larger fleet. On Earth, people mourned. 8,000 military personnel had died. 3,000 civilians on Mars were gone, but they had survived. Against all odds, humanity had fought a superior enemy and lived to tell about it. Terralix watched the news with her people. She felt terrible. All these deaths were because of the Velnar, because her people had asked for help. But when she went outside, human children still came to see the Velnar. They still wanted to play and learn and be friends. No one blamed them. No one told them to leave. An old woman approached Terralix on the beach. She took the alien's hand gently. My grandson died on the EDS Courage. He was 20 years old, but I want you to know he believed in protecting you. He thought it was right. Don't dishonor his sacrifice by thinking it was for nothing. Terralix couldn't speak. She just held the woman's hand and cried. The video spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Someone had recorded the entire Battle of Mars and uploaded it to the Interstellar network that connected thousands of worlds. Within days, billions of aliens across space had watched the fight. Most civilizations were shocked. A Tier 3 species had fought a Tier 2 empire and survived. That wasn't supposed to be possible. The Krethik Dominion was feared everywhere. Nobody fought them. Nobody won against them. But these humans had done it. On a trading world called Lysan Prime, insectoid merchants gathered around viewing screens. They watched human ships explode, watched them fight anyway, watched them protect refugees they barely knew. The Lysani were traitors, not warriors, but they understood honor. These humans are either very brave or very stupid, one merchant said. Maybe both, said another. But they didn't surrender. That means something. In a crystal city on the silicon world of Torvin, ancient beings made of living rock watched the same videos. The Torvin were old, much older than humans. They had seen empires rise and fall. They rarely interfered in galactic politics anymore. But something about humanity caught their attention. They fight for others, not themselves, one Torvin elder observed. Rare. Very rare. On the avian world of Kilar, bird-like aliens with brilliant feathers discussed the battle in their high councils. The Chilar were information brokers. They knew everything that happened in this sector of space. They knew the Krethic would come back with more ships. And they knew humanity couldn't win a second time. Should we help them? Asked a young Chilar scout. Help them? And make the Dominion our enemy? Replied a council member. That would be foolish. But the young scout didn't stop thinking about it. On Earth, repairs were underway. Shipyards worked around the clock to fix damaged vessels, but everyone knew the truth. They had won one battle. The next one would be much harder. Ambassador Terralix couldn't stand watching anymore. She recorded a message and sent it to the Galactic Council, the organization that was supposed to keep peace in space. The council had stayed neutral during the battle, claiming they couldn't interfere. Hyun-Soo helped her craft the message. He had become more than just a translator. He and Terralix had become friends. He wrote the words and she spoke them. My name is Terralix of Velnar. My people asked Earth for help. They said yes, knowing it would cost them. They lost thousands of their own to protect us. And now you all watch and do nothing. Is this what civilization means? Watching the brave die because you're afraid. Humanity showed us what honor looks like. What will you show them? The message went out to every member world of the Galactic Council. It made many aliens uncomfortable. Some ignored it, but some couldn't. 3 days later, a small ship appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. It didn't broadcast identification. It just sent a tight beam transmission directly to Admiral Minho. We are Lysani merchants. We cannot fight beside you. The Dominion would destroy us. But we can give you things. Medical supplies, shield generators, better sensors. We will leave them in orbit around your moon. Tell no one where you got them. The ship dropped its cargo and left before anyone could respond. When human crews went to investigate, they found containers full of advanced technology. The shield generators alone were worth more than Earth's entire annual military budget. Admiral Minho looked at the gifts and felt tears in his eyes. We're not alone, he said quietly. 2 days later, another anonymous ship came. This one was Torvin. They left detailed sensor arrays that could detect ships across vast distances. The Krethic fleet is gathering, their message said. They will return in 4 days with 25 ships. Use this time wisely. The third gift came from the Chilar. It was pure information. Fleet movements, supply lines, communication codes. A young Kilar scout had stolen the data and fled her homeworld to bring it to Earth. Her name was Kixara, and she risked everything to help. Why? Hyun-Soo asked her through a translator. Kixara ruffled her bright blue feathers. Because someone should. Because you did. President Jiwon met with all the anonymous helpers in secret. Thank you, she said simply. If we survive this, we won't forget. A Lysani merchant bowed. We cannot give you much, but it might be enough. Engineer Taeyang got to work immediately. The new shield generators were far superior to anything humans had. He began installing them on every ship. It took 3 days of non-stop work, but he did it. Captain Subin studied the Chilar intelligence data. She now knew exactly where the Krethic were gathering and when they would attack. More importantly, she knew where their supply depot was. An idea formed in her mind. We can't beat them in a straight fight, she told Admiral Minho. But what if we don't fight straight? What if we hit them where they're weak? Minho looked at her plan and nodded slowly. It's risky. Everything is risky now, Subin replied. Meanwhile, on Earth, something beautiful was happening. The Velnar weren't just accepting help anymore. They were giving it. Velnar engineers worked alongside humans in the shipyards. Their biological technology merged with human mechanical systems in ways neither species had imagined. Velnar scientist named Pellis created a new kind of ship armor that could heal itself using biological processes. When tested, it worked better than expected. Human crews called it living armor. Velnar children attended human schools. Human children learned to swim with Velnar in the ocean. On beaches around the world, the two species built art together. Humans contributed technology and structure. Velnar added their natural bioluminescence. The result was stunning light sculptures that told stories of both peoples. Terralix walked through a market in Auckland, New Zealand. It was amazing to her. Human and Velnar vendors sold goods side by side. A human child ran past, laughing, chased by a young Velnar. They were just playing. Just being kids. An elderly human man sold fish from a stand. When he saw Terralix, he smiled and offered her some. "On the house," he said. "You're family now." Terralix took the fish with shaking hands. "Family," she repeated. The word felt warm, but the warm feeling didn't last. On the fourth day, sensors picked up the Krethic fleet. 25 warships, just as the Chilar had predicted, and leading them was a new admiral, Krextar, who was even more ruthless than Vexthor. Krextar's first message was clear. "Humans, you were given mercy once. You rejected it. Now you face consequences. Surrender the Velnar within 12 hours or your world will burn. We will not negotiate. We will not show weakness again." The message showed videos from other worlds that had defied the Dominion. Cities in ruins, populations enslaved, entire continents turned to ash. It was a message meant to create terror, but humanity had changed. The people who watched that message weren't the same as they had been 2 weeks ago. They had fought. They had bled. They had discovered what they were capable of. President Jiwan's response was broadcast everywhere. "Admiral Krextar, you show us death and expect us to fear. But we have already faced death. We have already paid the price. Every person on this planet knows what we're fighting for. We fight for our neighbors, for our friends, for people who needed help and came to us. Your 12 hours mean nothing. Our answer is the same as before, no." Around the world, people gathered in public spaces, not in fear but in determination. They knew the battle was coming. They knew some of them wouldn't survive. But they also knew they were right. In the shipyards, the final preparations were made. Earth's fleet now numbered 20 ships with the new shields and weapons. It still wasn't enough, but it was better than before. Commodore Daehyun called a meeting of all ship captains. He looked at each one. Some were veterans like himself. Some were young like Lieutenant Bora, who had been promoted to captain after her heroics at Mars. "We're going to split our forces," Daehyun said. "I'll take 12 ships and defend Earth directly. Subin, you take 8 ships and hit their supply depot. If we can cut off their resources, they might retreat. And if they don't?" asked a captain. Daehyun's face was grim. "Then we fight until we can't fight anymore." Hyunsu was assigned to Subin's strike team. His job was intelligence and communications. He was scared, but he didn't show it. Before leaving, he visited Terralix. "If I don't come back," he started. "Don't say that," Terralix interrupted. Her voice was firm. "You will come back, you must. Someone needs to keep translating my terrible grammar." Hyunsu laughed despite everything. "Deal." As the human fleet prepared to launch, the Velnar held a ceremony. They created a massive bioluminescent display in the ocean, visible from space. It showed 2 hands clasped together, one human, one Velnar. Beneath it, in both languages, was a single word: unity. The Krethic fleet saw it and laughed. But some aliens watching from distant worlds saw it and felt something else: hope. The Krethic fleet advanced toward Earth like a storm. 25 warships, their weapons charged, their crews eager for revenge. Admiral Krextar sat on his command throne, confident. This time there would be no mistakes. The humans would die, the Velnar would be captured, and this insignificant planet would learn its place. Commodore Daehyun watched them come. His 12 ships formed a defensive line at lunar orbit, between the Krethic and Earth. He knew the odds. He knew most of his people would die. But his face was calm. "All ships, this is Daehyun. Today we protect our home, our families, our friends, both human and Velnar. Whatever happens, know that what we do here matters. Make your shots count." At the same time, Captain Subin's 8 ships approached the Krethic supply depot hidden in the asteroid belt. It was heavily guarded by automated defenses and 3 warships. But Subin had studied the Chilar intelligence data carefully. "There," she pointed at her tactical display. "That asteroid has high metal content. It will block their sensors for 40 seconds. We go in fast, hit the fuel reserves, and get out before they know we're there." Hyunsu sat at his station on Subin's ship, monitoring communications. He was nervous but focused. This was it. Everything depended on both groups succeeding. The battle for Earth began with a massive barrage from the Krethic fleet. Energy weapons lit up space. But this time the human shields held. The Lysani generators absorbed impacts that would have destroyed the ships before. Shields holding at 70%, reported an officer on Daehyun's flagship. There was surprise in her voice. Sir, these new shields are incredible. Don't get comfortable, Daehyun said. They'll adapt. All ships return fire. Target their lead vessels. Human weapons struck back. Railguns fired, missiles launched, energy weapons blazed. The Krethic shields absorbed most of it, but some shots got through. Small damage, but damage nonetheless. Krextar frowned. These humans have better technology than before. How? His tactical officer checked the readings. Sir, those shield signatures don't match any human technology in our database. Someone gave them assistance. Find out who later, Krextar growled. For now, increase firepower. I want those ships broken. The battle intensified. Captain Nari's ship, the EDS Resolute, took heavy fire. Her shields collapsed and energy beams cut through the hull. She had seconds to decide. All crew abandon ship, she ordered. But she stayed in her chair. With her last bit of power, she aimed her dying ship at a Krethic battlecruiser and pushed the engines to maximum. The Resolute slammed into the enemy ship at full speed. Both vessels exploded in a ball of fire. 300 humans died, but so did 600 Krethic. Nari's gone, someone reported quietly. Daehyun closed his eyes for a moment, honoring her sacrifice. Then he continued commanding. There was no time for grief now. At the supply depot, Subin's strike force made their move. They flew behind the metallic asteroid, invisible to sensors. Then they burst out at full speed, already firing. Their torpedoes hit the massive fuel tanks before the Krethic defenders could react. The explosion was enormous, a miniature sun that consumed everything within 1,000 kilometers. 2 of the 3 guard ships were destroyed instantly. The third was heavily damaged. Direct hit, shouted Subin's weapons officer. The entire depot is gone. Hyunsu intercepted the panic in Krethic communications. Captain, they're reporting to the main fleet. They're saying their fuel reserves are destroyed. Subin smiled grimly. Good, now let's get back to Earth. They'll need us. But the return journey would take time. And at Earth, the battle was getting worse. The Krethic changed tactics. They focused all their fire on one human ship at a time. The EDS Courage's shields failed. Then the EDS Liberty. Then the EDS Guardian. Ships exploded one after another despite the better shields. Captain Bora led her fighter squadrons in desperate attacks. She had 40 fighters against impossible odds. They wove through the battle, targeting damaged Krethic ships, trying to finish what the capital ships had started. Blue Leader, there are too many, said one of her pilots. His voice was scared. I know, Bora replied, but every shot we take is one more chance. Keep fighting. Her fighters swarmed a damaged Krethic destroyer. They hit its engines, its weapons, its bridge. The ship went dark and began to drift. But 8 fighters were lost in the assault. Down on Earth, people watched the battle on screens. They saw their defenders dying. In the ocean settlements, Velnar watched too. They felt crushing guilt. All this death was because of them. Terralix couldn't watch anymore. She gathered the Velnar leaders. We have to do something. We can't just hide while they die for us. What can we do? Asked Moralen. We are not warriors. No, Terralix agreed. But we are scientists. We are engineers. Our ships might be broken, but they still have power. Maybe we can help. The Velnar began working frantically. They had 1 old colony ship left, barely functioning, but its main sensor array still worked. It was powerful, designed to scan entire star systems. They reconfigured it and pointed it at the battle. Terralix contacted Hyunsu on an emergency channel. Hyunsu, we can help. We have sensors that can track every Krethic ship precisely. We can feed that data to your ships. Do it, Hyunsu said immediately. Suddenly, every human ship received perfect targeting data. They knew exactly where each enemy ship was, where it was going, where its weapons were aimed. It was like seeing the future. Daehyun used this advantage immediately. All ships knew targeting coordinates. Fire on my mark. Every human ship fired at once, all hitting the same spot on a single Krethic vessel. The concentrated firepower overwhelmed its shields. The ship broke apart. Krextar realized what was happening. They have targeting assistance. Find the source and destroy it. A Krethic ship broke away from the main battle and headed toward Earth. Toward the Velnar colony ship floating in the Pacific. Incoming, Terralix shouted. There was no time to evacuate. No time to run. Then Lieutenant Junho's younger brother, Minho, piloted a damaged human destroyer into the path of the Krethic ship. His vessel was already dying, shields gone, hull breached, but he had just enough weapons left for one last shot. "For my brother," he said quietly. Then he fired everything at point-blank range. Both ships exploded. The Velnar colony ship survived, protected by Minho's sacrifice. At that moment, Subin's strike force returned to the battle. 8 fresh ships with full weapons and shields. They hit the Krethic fleet from behind, catching them completely by surprise. "This is Captain Subin to all ships. Their supply lines are cut. They're running on reserves now. Press the attack." The tide of battle shifted. The Krethic had lost their fuel depot, lost their numerical advantage, and were now fighting on 2 fronts. Human ships, Velnar targeting data, and desperate courage combined into something unstoppable. Krextar saw his fleet falling apart. 7 of his ships were destroyed. 10 more were heavily damaged. This was supposed to be easy. How had these primitives become so dangerous? Then Hyun-Soo detected something in the Krethic communications, a flaw in their encryption. The same kind Morellon had told them about weeks ago. He had been studying it, learning it, waiting for the right moment. "Captain Subin," he said urgently, "I can hack their communications. I can send false orders." "Do it," Subin said without hesitation. Hyun-Soo's fingers flew across his console. He broke through the Krethic encryption and sent fake commands. "Attention, Krethic fleet. This is Admiral Krextar. All ships execute maneuver pattern Theta 7. 3 Krethic ships, following what they thought were legitimate orders, turned sharply. They crashed into each other. In space combat, where every movement was calculated, this was disaster. Krextar realized what happened. "Communications are compromised. Switch to backup channels." But it was too late. The confusion spread. Some ships followed real orders. Some followed fake ones. The Krethic formation fell apart. Daehyun saw his opportunity. "All ships concentrate fire on their flagship. End this now." Every remaining human ship, every fighter focused on Krextar's command vessel. The Velnar targeting data showed exactly where to hit. The combined assault was overwhelming. Krextar's shields failed. His hull breached. Fire spread through his ship. He had seconds to make a choice. Pride demanded he go down with his ship. Survival demanded he escape. He chose survival. "All ships retreat. We withdraw." The remaining Krethic vessels, damaged and demoralized, turned and fled toward the edge of the solar system. They left behind 7 destroyed ships and their dead. The humans had lost 14 ships out of 20. But they had won. Earth stood. Silence filled the communication channels for a long moment. Then someone started cheering. It spread from ship to ship, from Earth to the orbital stations, from human settlements to Velnar communities. They had done it. Against all odds, against superior technology, against an empire. They had won 5 years past. Earth changed in ways no one could have imagined. The reputation of humanity spread across the galaxy. The species that stands between the helpless and the void, aliens called them. Other refugees began to come. First a few, then hundreds, then thousands. Earth accepted them all. The Velnar were no longer refugees. They were citizens. Terralix became Earth's ambassador to the stars. Her daughter, born on Earth, joined the defense forces alongside humans. Admiral Daehyun, now old and gray, stood in a shipyard watching new vessels launch.